You are not here by accident. Your life is not random. Your pain was not meaningless. You were chosen long before you understood what it meant to be chosen. This is not about pride or ego. This is about responsibility. On 7th December, the energy shifts and the truth becomes impossible to ignore. Chosen ones feel it before they see it. You feel different because you are different. Your soul has been trained through silence, through loss, through isolation. That was never punishment. That was preparation. Most people live asleep. They follow noise, comfort, distraction. But chosen ones are built in pressure. You are broken in private because you are meant to rise in public. On 7th December, this truth becomes active. You will feel a quiet fire inside you, not chaos, not fear, clarity, the kind that makes you stop begging for validation and start walking like you already know who you are. Being chosen does not mean life is easy. It means life is meaningful. Every delay you faced, every door that closed, every relationship that ended was divine protection. You were being separated from what could not go with you. On 7th December, separation becomes understanding. You stop blaming the past, you stop chasing people, you stop explaining yourself. You start standing in your own spiritual authority. Chosen ones are not loud. They are disciplined. They are calm. They are focused. They do not waste energy proving themselves. They invest energy becoming themselves. On 7th December, you are invited to step into a new identity, not by force, not by noise, by stillness, by awareness, by self-control. You begin to understand that your power was never outside you. It was always within your breath, your attention, your posture, your choices. Your loneliness was not rejection. It was divine insulation. You were protected from the wrong crowds, the wrong attachments, the wrong timelines. Others were partying. You were evolving. Others were distracted. You were being built. On 7th December, you stop feeling left out and start feeling handpicked. You start realizing that your path was narrow because your mission is sacred. Chosen ones do not chase comfort. They chase growth. Comfort makes you soft. Growth makes you strong. Pain made you wise. Silence made you disciplined. Waiting made you patient. On 7th December, your patience becomes power. You no longer complain about slow progress. You respect the process. You understand that slow growth creates unshakable roots. You were chosen because you can handle pressure without losing your character. You were chosen because you can walk alone without becoming bitter. You were chosen because you can be powerful without becoming arrogant. This is your spiritual assignment, not to dominate others, but to master yourself. On 7th December, mastery becomes your focus, not money, not fame, not attention. Mastery of thoughts, mastery of emotions, mastery of habits. You don't need approval. You don't need applause. You don't need permission. You were born with purpose in your blood. On 7th December, you stop shrinking. You stop doubting. You stop lowering your standards just to belong. You start moving like someone who knows they are guided, protected, and designed for higher ground. You were chosen to break patterns, to heal bloodlines, to end cycles of fear and weakness. This is why your life felt heavy early. You were carrying strength before you had words for it. On 7th December, that weight becomes wings. You begin to feel light because you finally understand your role. Stay silent when others are loud. Stay calm when others panic. Stay disciplined when others quit. This is the way of the chosen. This is the life you were trained for. This is the moment you were built for. On 7th December, you do not become chosen. You remember that you always were. You are not walking alone, even when it feels like you are. There are forces you cannot see, but they see you. Protection is not loud. It is silent. It is precise. It moves without your awareness. On 7th December, this protection becomes stronger, clearer, and closer. Not because you suddenly deserve it, but because you are ready to feel it. You are being watched, not to judge you, but to guard you. Many dangers in your life were never visible to you. Many traps were removed before you could step into them. Many attacks were stopped before they could touch you. This is not luck. This is not coincidence. This is spiritual protection in motion. On 7th December, you will begin to sense it in your instincts. You will feel the sudden urge to avoid certain people, certain places, certain decisions. That is not fear. That is guidance. You were not saved because you are perfect. You were protected because you have purpose. There is a difference. Purpose attracts guardianship. Purpose attracts defense. On 7th December, you will begin to respect this responsibility. You will move with more awareness. You will speak with more restraint. You will choose with more discipline. You will understand that being protected means you must also protect your own energy. There were moments when you felt pushed back, delayed, blocked. You thought life was against you. It was never against you. It was redirecting you. If you had received everything you wanted, you would have walked into destruction. On 7th December, you will stop resenting closed doors. You will start trusting divine detours. You will stop chasing speed and start embracing timing. Protection does not mean comfort. It means correction. It means discipline. It means redirection. You are kept away from what is not aligned with your growth. This is why some plans failed. This is why some dreams collapsed. Not to break you, but to save you. On 7th December, you will begin to feel gratitude instead of frustration. Your spirit will mature. Your vision will sharpen. You are being guarded in silence. While you sleep, forces move. While you doubt, forces work. While you feel weak, forces defend. This is not fantasy. This is spiritual law. When a soul carries weight, it receives protection. On 7th December, you stop feeling abandoned. You stop feeling cursed. You start feeling covered. Guardianship does not remove struggle. It controls damage. You are allowed to feel pain, but you are prevented from being destroyed by it. That is the difference. You are allowed to fall, but not to collapse completely. On 7th December, you will realize how many times you should have been broken, but you survived. That was not strength alone. That was protection. Your mind becomes quieter when you know you are watched over. Your heart becomes steadier. Your spirit becomes disciplined. This is why discipline is a form of respect. When you wake up early, when you control your impulses, when you guard your thoughts, you honor the protection around you. On 7th December, your habits begin to shift. You stop self-sabotaging. You stop entertaining negativity. You stop walking into chaos. You are not protected, so you can be careless. You are protected so you can be fearless. There is a difference. Carelessness is weakness. Fearlessness is awareness. On 7th December, you stop living in survival mode. You start living in alignment. You stop reacting. You start observing. You stop panicking. You start breathing. There are spiritual forces clearing your path right now. They are removing obstacles you never noticed. They are blocking energies that cannot touch you. They are guiding your steps through intuition. On 7th December, your intuition sharpens. You begin to trust your inner voice. You begin to move with quiet certainty. You do not need to prove your protection. You just need to respect it. Walk straight. Speak truth. Live clean. Think clearly. That is how you stay covered. That is how you stay guided. On 7th December, you stop fearing unseen forces and start respecting unseen support. Protection is not a feeling. It is a function. It operates whether you believe it or not. But when you align with it, your life becomes lighter. Your decisions become cleaner. Your path becomes clearer. On 7th December, you stop asking why life is hard and start understanding why you are still standing. You are guarded. You are watched. You are covered. Not because you are weak, but because you are essential. This is not a fantasy. This is your reality. On 7th December, you don't become protected. You realize you always were. A miracle does not begin when you see it. A miracle begins when you are ready for it. Long before the result arrives, the movement has already started. Your life has been shifting quietly, even when you thought nothing was happening. On 7th December, this hidden movement becomes stronger, not always visible to the eye, but real in your spirit, real in your direction, real in your inner world. People think a miracle is sudden. It is not. It is built through discipline, patience, and inner alignment. The miracle you are waiting for is not just about changing your situation. It is about changing you. On 7th December, you step into a season where inner change becomes unstoppable. You begin to think differently. You begin to stand differently. You begin to move differently. This is the beginning of manifestation. Nothing appears in your life without preparation. You were prepared through waiting. You were prepared through disappointment. You were prepared through silence. All of it shaped your character. All of it strengthened your spirit. On 7th December, you stop seeing your delays as losses. You start seeing them as construction. You were being built to carry what is coming. A real miracle does not make you weak. It makes you stable. It does not make you loud. It makes you grounded. You will not recognize the miracle at first by noise. You will recognize it by peace. A deep calm will settle in you. A quiet certainty will rise. On 7th December, this peace begins to take root. You feel less desperate. You feel more balanced. You have been praying, hoping, visualizing, working in silence. Nothing was wasted. Every effort is counted. Every tear was recorded. Every silent night had purpose. On 7th December, energy begins to move in your favor in ways you cannot force but can feel. The miracle starts in alignment, when your thoughts match your purpose, when your habits support your vision, when your discipline reflects your destiny. The biggest miracle is not money, not fame, not recognition. The biggest miracle is control of self. When you can control your breath, your reactions, your impulses, you become powerful. On 7th December, this power begins to awaken. You stop being pushed by fear. You stop being controlled by doubt. You stop living in survival. You start living in direction. Many people miss their miracle because they are too noisy inside, too restless, too impatient. A miracle requires stillness. It requires trust. It requires endurance. On 7th December, you begin to slow down internally, not in ambition, but in anxiety. You stop rushing outcomes. You start trusting processes. What is being prepared for you cannot be rushed. It must meet you when you are strong enough to hold it. If it arrived earlier, it would break you. If it came faster, it would damage you. That is why timing is sacred. On 7th December, you understand this truth. You stop chasing speed. You start respecting timing. A miracle is also a responsibility. Once it arrives, your life changes. Your standards rise. Your discipline deepens. Your focus sharpens. On 7th December, you begin to live like someone who knows something big is forming. You clean your habits. You sharpen your mind. You strengthen your body. You align your spirit. You are not waiting for the miracle. The miracle is waiting for you to become stable, focused, and disciplined. This is why self-growth is not optional. It is required. On 7th December, you choose growth over comfort. You choose silence over noise. You choose discipline over excuses. That choice activates what has already started. You may not see physical proof immediately, but you will feel internal confirmation. Confidence replaces confusion. Calm replaces chaos. Direction replaces doubt. These are signs. These are movements. These are shifts. On 7th December, these signs multiply within you. You were never forgotten. You were never overlooked. You were being prepared. Quietly, carefully, precisely. The miracle is not magic. It is alignment meeting readiness. It is discipline meeting timing. It is faith meeting structure. On 7th December, you don't wait for a miracle. You walk like someone who knows it has already begun. When pressure increases, it is not a punishment. It is a signal. Tests do not appear to break you. They appear to reveal you. On 7th December, you begin to understand that every heavy moment was never meant to stop you. It was meant to upgrade you. The weight you feel is not resistance. It is preparation for expansion. Life does not test weak souls. It tests those who are capable of more. If your life feels difficult, it is because you are not meant for a small story. You are being shaped for a higher level of responsibility. On 7th December, you stop asking why things are hard. You start realizing that hardship is evidence of potential. A test is not about failure. It is about discipline. It is about control. It is about awareness. When anger rises, that is a test. When fear appears, that is a test. When doubt enters your mind, that is a test. On 7th December, you start to face these moments with calm instead of chaos. You stop reacting and start responding. Most people run from pressure. They escape into distraction. They avoid growth. But the chosen path is different. You are trained to stand still in the storm, to breathe when everything feels heavy, to stay grounded when emotions rise. On 7th December, this strength begins to activate more clearly inside you. Every delay was a test of patience. Every rejection was a test of ego. Every silence was a test of faith. Nothing in your life was random. It was all training. On 7th December, you stop seeing delays as punishment. You start seeing them as conditioning. Your endurance was being built. When you pass a test, you are not rewarded with comfort. You are rewarded with capacity. Your mind becomes stronger. Your spirit becomes calmer. Your vision becomes clear. On 7th December, This clarity becomes your advantage. You stop feeling overwhelmed. You start feeling focused. The higher your calling, the greater your testing. This is a spiritual law. Gold is refined in fire, not in comfort. Strength is forged under pressure, not in ease. On 7th December, you embrace this truth. You stop resisting the fire. You start using it to refine your character. Tests expose weak habits. They show you where you still lack control. They reveal where you still need discipline. This is not shameful. This is useful. On 7th December, you stop hiding from your weaknesses. You start working on them calmly, quietly, consistently. A promotion in life is not given. It is earned through pressure. You are moved to a higher level only when you can handle the weight of it. On 7th December, you begin to walk like someone ready for the next level. Your posture changes. Your choices change. Your standards rise. When everything feels heavy, that is the moment to become light inside. When everything feels loud, that is the moment to become silent inside. When everything feels chaotic, that is the moment to become still inside. On 7th December, this inner discipline becomes your weapon. Not force, not anger, control. You were never being attacked. You were being evaluated. You were never being punished. You were being prepared. This changes your mindset. This changes your energy. On 7th December, you stop feeling like a victim and start thinking like a warrior of the self. A true warrior does not fight the world. He conquers his own mind. He masters his breath. He controls his reactions. He chooses discipline over drama. On 7th December, you make this shift, not loudly, not publicly, internally. Every test is a gate. Either you break under it or you grow through it. You were built to grow through it. That is why you survived what others could not. That is why you stayed standing when others collapsed. On 7th December, you recognize your strength. The test is not ending. It is leveling you up. The pressure is not stopping. It is shaping you. The challenge is not blocking you. It is promoting you. On 7th December, you stop fearing tests. You start welcoming them as proof that your next level is near. Power does not come from noise. It comes from belief. Not belief in fantasy, but belief in direction. When you believe, your actions become aligned. When your actions become aligned, your life becomes ordered. On 7th December, this alignment begins inside you. You stop wavering. You stop doubting. You stop changing direction. Your inner world becomes disciplined. Faith is not something you shout. It is something you practice. You wake up early even when you feel tired. You move your body even when you feel heavy. You control your tongue even when you feel angry. That is faith in motion. On 7th December, your faith becomes visible through your discipline, not through words. The power of belief is not emotional. It is structural. It changes the way you think. It changes the way you stand. It changes the way you breathe. When your breath is calm, your mind is clear. When your mind is clear, your decisions are strong. On 7th December, you begin to master this internal structure. You no longer live by impulse. You live by intention. Many people wait for motivation. They wait for signs. They wait for comfort. That is weakness. Strength is when you move, even when you feel nothing. When you continue, even when you feel tired. When you stay disciplined, even when no one is watching. On 7th December, you realize this truth. You stop needing external energy. You build internal fire. Faith activates power when it is combined with responsibility. You cannot believe in growth while living in weakness. You cannot claim destiny while embracing chaos. On 7th December, your habits start to reflect your vision. You clean your schedule. You organize your thoughts. You simplify your life. That simplicity creates power. Your mind is the first battlefield. If you lose control there, you lose control everywhere. This is why faith begins in thought discipline. You decide what enters your mind. You decide what stays. You decide what leaves. On 7th December, you take command of your inner space. You stop entertaining negativity. You stop feeding fear. Faith without action is illusion. Action without faith is exhaustion. Both must work together. When they do, force is created. Direction is created. Momentum is created. On 7th December, you become consistent, not dramatic, not emotional. Consistent. You start to understand that divine power does not respond to weakness. It responds to alignment. When your thoughts, habits, and purpose move in one direction, resistance disappears. On 7th December, confusion fades, clarity rises. You feel focused, not anxious, calmly driven, Real belief does not make you arrogant. It makes you humble. You stop needing to be seen. You stop needing to be praised. You move quietly. You grow silently. You build yourself without announcements. On 7th December, you begin to respect silence as a form of strength. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, your power grows. Every time you choose patience over reaction, your power grows. Every time you choose truth over pleasing others, your power grows. On 7th December, these choices become natural, not forced, not heavy, natural. You stop asking life for proof. You become the proof. Your posture becomes stronger. Your eyes become calmer. Your voice becomes steady. On 7th December, people may not understand what changed in you, but they will feel it. It will be presence. Faith does not remove fear. It teaches you how to walk with it without being controlled by it. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is movement despite fear. On 7th December, you practice this courage quietly in your daily action. You begin to understand that power was never something you had to receive. It was something you had to activate. Through belief, through discipline, through self-mastery. On 7th December, you stop waiting to be saved. You start becoming strong. You don't chase signs. You become the signal. Your energy shifts. Your focus sharpens. Your spirit becomes calm and firm. On 7th December, you do not just believe in power. You live it. A turning point is not loud. It does not come with noise or celebration. It comes with awareness. A quiet decision inside your heart that says, I will not live the same way again. On 7th December, that quiet decision becomes stronger. You begin to feel a shift that does not scream but settles deep. You are not reacting anymore. You are choosing. A true turning point is not about changing the world around you. It is about changing the world within you. Your habits, your thinking, your discipline. On 7th December, you stop moving on autopilot. You stop repeating patterns that kept you small. You become conscious of your actions, your reactions, your direction. Most people wait for a perfect moment. That moment never comes. Growth happens when you decide, not when conditions are right. On 7th December, you understand this truth. You stop waiting for approval. You stop waiting for permission. You take responsibility for your own evolution. This date is not magic. It is symbolic. It represents the moment you stop running from yourself. It represents the moment you stop blaming the past. It represents the moment you stop fearing the future. On 7th December, your focus moves to the present. This is where power lives, not in regret, not in anxiety, in now. A turning point is when discipline becomes non-negotiable. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop making excuses for laziness. You stop justifying bad habits. On 7th December, you begin to respect your own potential. You begin to treat your time like something sacred. You begin to guard your energy. You become aware that every small action builds your future. The way you wake up, the way you breathe, the way you think, the way you speak. Nothing is small. Everything matters. On 7th December, you become precise, not obsessive, conscious. You choose your movements with intention. Real growth is not emotional. It is practical. It is structured. It is repeated. It is disciplined. On 7th December, you stop looking for motivation and start practicing consistency. You understand that feelings change, but discipline must stay. A turning point is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to who you were before fear told you to shrink, before doubt taught you to hide. On 7th December, you remember your original strength. You stop playing small. You stop dimming your presence. You also begin to understand that every ending is a beginning wearing a different face. Old habits must die so new strength can be born. Old mindsets must collapse so new awareness can rise. On 7th December, you stop mourning what you lost and start respecting what you are becoming. Your standards rise quietly. You no longer tolerate chaos. You no longer entertain drama. You no longer waste time. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. On 7th December, your energy becomes cleaner. Your boundaries become stronger. Your inner world becomes organized. You stop living to impress. You stop chasing noise. You stop fearing silence. Silence becomes your training ground. Stillness becomes your teacher. On 7th December, you feel comfortable in solitude because you finally understand that solitude is strength. This turning point makes you calm, not aggressive, focused, not frantic, grounded, not rushed. You begin to walk with a steady rhythm. You speak with purpose. You act with precision. You realize that you are not behind in life. You were being prepared. You were being trained. You were being shaped. On 7th December, regret transforms into respect for your journey. You no longer search for escape. You build structure. You build discipline. You build control. This is the new beginning. Quiet, strong, real. On 7th December, you do not chase change. You become the change.